Let's see here. Good morning, you guys. Welcome to another Power Morning. So I want to encourage us to do things a little bit differently, not you, Tammy, because you're driving. Um, but so I was a little mindful yesterday of I was just doing some interactions last night, just randomly because when I work all day at the salon, um, on Tuesdays, I never really have time to do any type of interactions or on my social media. So I was like, I get home, it's dinner time, and then like kids, all the things. And so then finally, I hadn't been on my phone since Power Morning. And then yesterday, I just did too much talking and I was kind of a squirrel. And so I didn't get a lot of my own interactions in this morning, or yesterday morning. So then I was doing more last night before bed. But anyway, so I was kind of looking at my stories, and what prompted me is that somebody had liked something on my stories, somebody that normally never likes my stories ever. And so it kind of like, flagged me, so to speak, like, oh wow, like that person never likes my story. And it reminded me about going and looking at your stories to see who is viewing your stories. So today, that is how we're going to do our interactions. I want you guys to go to the very first slide in your stories, and I want you to look at who's viewed your story. And you can do this both on Facebook and Instagram. Whichever you prefer to do. I am possibly going to change things up. I don't want to change things too quickly, but maybe next week, where either we pop on at 5:30, I know that's crazy, or we stay an extra 15 minutes because I would like to start doing 15 minutes of interactions on Facebook and then 15 minutes of interactions, or we can do 10 and 10, something like that. But I feel like, and maybe if we're getting good enough on Facebook, we can just do 10 minutes of interaction and then on Facebook, and then jump over to Instagram and make sure that we're nurturing that too. So anyways, it's just a thought that I have because I'm like, it's great to do lots. I feel like most of us are doing lots on Facebook, but if we're not plugging into Instagram later, we're missing a huge opportunity there because there's, that's a whole cold market of people that we could be also nurturing. So anyways, I don't want to get off topic too much here, but let's go to whichever you prefer, your stories on Instagram or Facebook. And then I want you to look at your very first slide because that will be the latest one that you put up. So it'll have the most story views. And I want you to see who's looking at your stories. If there's anybody that is a non-thriver or somebody that is like grabs your attention, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know they are looking at my stories, I want you to click um on their photo to go to their profile and then see if there's anything on their page that you can interact with, because that is your warm market. If they are looking at your stories, they don't have to look at your stories. So I like to look at stories because that's how you really know who's interested in either you or what you're posting about or your products. Because if they're watching your story on the feed, they can just scroll on past. But a story, they are making an effort and intentional about watching it. So those are warmer leads than anything else. So if they are in your story, then they are interested in something. So make sure that then you are going to their page to interact so that you can build that relationship. So if they are interested in Thrive, maybe then they'll reach out. Sometimes if I see somebody on there that I would have a reason to reach out, I will send them a DM and just be like, hey, I was thinking about you. Just wanted to pop in and say hello. I hope you have a great day. Like if you have that relationship with them, because then sometimes that will open up the relationship for more. And I did that last night with one person, and she used to thrive with me a couple years ago. You guys, that's all I said to her, and she immediately brought up Thrive to me. I didn't even have to bring it up. So that is why it's important to build these relationships, because you don't even have to send somebody a cold message, because if they want to talk about Thrive, they're just waiting for you to message them and then they will bring it up. So that's what we're going to do today. If you don't have enough people to interact with in your story, obviously then go to your feed. Good morning, Triton. I can hear Triton in the kitchen mixing up his shake. You must have got up at 5:30 today, huh, bud? What a good boy. And you guys, this is why it's also important as a reminder to do calls to action in your story. Because I have this girl, truthfully, I don't even know who she is. I'm not going to lie. She's on my Facebook. She's viewing my story. I go to her page, try to interact. She literally has not posted anything since like April. So there's literally nothing to interact with. So there's so many people that are watching stories. They're scrolling the feed, but they don't post anything. They don't say anything. But when we put stickers in our stories, polls, questions, like any types of calls to actions, especially in our story, it's so important, because some of these really quiet people, they'll tap on a sticker or they'll answer a poll, but they won't ever like interact or message you, because they don't pretty much do any interactions on social media. But if they have a quick button they can hit, they'll hit that. Because this lady, she is not active on social media, but she's clearly watching my story every day. So it's just a reminder of why that's so important, to make sure that you're putting those calls to actions in your stories, because so many people are like the silent creepers.
Heather, I'm really glad you said that, because I was wondering how to do the closet thriver type ones.
Yeah, well, there's just,
I have seen that, you know, you go to their page and it's like they haven't posted anything, but yeah, they are. I was going to ask you how to reach out to them like that.
yeah. So
You know.
like, I don't, typically usually like, I don't really reach out to them, but like it's
Right.
so important. Like that's why it's so important to have those polls in our stories, because
Okay.
you just never, like, they're clearly watching. So if you
Right.
have something simple for them to interact with, they will eventually interact, because
Okay.
they're clearly active. They're just not saying anything.
Not saying anything. Yeah, I was kind of wondering how to go about that. Okay. Thank you.
That's why it's like all these little things like are so helpful for all of us, because even though we're doing power mornings, you guys, and we're working together, oh my gosh, I didn't know this person was even watching. You guys, I'm not gonna lie, I've completely slacked on looking at who views my stories. I used to do it regularly, and that's how I always did my interactions. And then, life just happens, you get off track and you stop doing it. Yeah, it's this one really shocks me. It's an estranged friend. And she needs Thrive, I'll say that. She's definitely watching. but yeah, so it's really important to see who's watching your story, because if they didn't care about Thrive, because like, right, like a lot of what I talk about in my stories is Thrive, especially because like your feed is like where you give value, you post about your fives list, right? Like the 5 things that make you you. You know, you be social there, interactions, you know, giving value, curiosity posts, like things like that, right? And then in your story is where you really can just be like even more yourself. And then I can like talk about Thrive as much as I want, because people are choosing to watch my story. So you can just be completely yourself. You can talk about Thrive. You can talk about your, you know, promotions, like all of that stuff. It's like the behind the scenes of who you are. You're like taking people on a journey through your life throughout the day, right? And so you're kind of just showing people just randomly like who you are and what you do throughout the day. That's the way I think of stories. It's like the behind the scenes of Heather Gross, like so to speak. But if people are watching that, then they're interested in you. So that's why it's so important to check who's viewing your stories, because if they're watching, they're nosy or they're interested. So that's why it's super important to go and interact with those people, because they're already kind of showing you that they're interested in something about you. So if
You know,
you,
it's so funny, Heather, because, you know, work people here are watching, and
oh
it's
yeah,
like, they won't say anything, and I'm not reaching out to them only because, you know, but they're watching. And I'm like, okay, you see what I'm doing,
yep.
and go to the bathroom. I'll help you in a second. But yeah,
It's
but yeah,
it's so true. Like they're
it
all
is.
watching. And the thing is, you guys, is that they they
You
are
pooped
all
your pants?
watching. Um, I'm sorry, my like sound came on this and it like threw me off when I heard my own voice talking like in a different way, because it was like a talking story. Um, but you know, like they're all watching, but they a lot of times don't want to say anything, but ultimately they're just waiting for the right time. But like what my husband and I, we were talking about something yesterday, and I have this other lady from a different company that reached out to me, and she was like, I was like so like humbled and honored, but like she was telling me like how and she's successful in her company, and it was like completely authentic. She wasn't like trying to recruit me or anything like that. She was just like, you really inspire me. I watch your story like every day. I love your energy. I was like, what? And she like was super like humble, and she's like, okay, so here's the thing, like I feel like you don't teach your team like the old way of like network marketing, like the spamming and the cold messages and the stuff like that. And I'm really struggling with that, because I feel like that's what my company is teaching, but it doesn't feel good to me. But I also feel really weird stepping away from my leadership and like what they do and what they teach. And she's also in the Bossly Accelerator with me as well, and so that's how she started following me. And so anyway, she's like, I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate that. And so I was really humbled, and like I feel bad for this poor girl, because her company and her leadership is like telling them to do cold messaging and stuff, and she's like, I just don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. Like I'm trying to teach my team a different way, but I just don't know how to step away. Anyway, I ended up telling her, I was like, okay, you guys, like it, for some people it feels good to like send 100 cold messages, because you think you're working, right? Like it's a metric, and you're like, okay, well, I sent 50 cold messages today, so I worked my business. Or I sent 100 cold messages today, so I did awesome. But it doesn't matter, because you're sending messages to people that aren't even interested in your product. Like, so that's just busy work. That just makes you feel good, but you're not actually working. You think you're working because you are like, oh, well, I did X, Y, and Z today, so good for me. Like I worked my business. But you're literally spamming people that have never even shown any interest in your products. So being intentional, what we are doing today is actually better work than sending 100 cold messages, because you're actually being authentic. You're actually building a relationship. So even if they don't want Thrive, here's the thing, you guys, because you are real and authentic, even though they might not want Thrive, guess what's going to happen? Because you weren't a robot and a spam bot, if somebody else they know that they think might need Thrive, they're going to send them to you. And it's happened to me multiple times. They're like, hey, so and so told me to message you because like you do Thrive and that it might help me. And so literally because you built these relationships with them, they will send other people to you that might need Thrive. And so that's why it's so important not to just spam people and to be a human, because it will eventually pay off. And so I always say, like, sending cold messages and all that, that's just like hustle culture. And that is just like busy work. And that makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you think you worked your business. Sending 100 cold messages is not any better than sending 10, let's say. Like, you're just feeling like you're busy, you're feeling like you're working, but that doesn't mean just because you sent 100 messages that that is going to equate to anything. So just like we're building these relationships, it doesn't mean that it's going to equate to anything, but it also means though that we are getting more visibility on our social media. Since I started doing this, you guys, I already had a random person reach out to me for a sample yesterday from North Carolina. Don't know where she said she found me on social media. She searched in the search box Thrive. You guys, that's how it works. And because I'm being so social on social media and so much visibility, like Facebook is going to like pop my stuff up at the top. Or like when you're posting very consistently and being, a human and social and all that increases your visibility. And suddenly you're going to start to have random people reaching out to you. This works. I'm telling you, it works. And so this is more important than sending 100 cold messages. So, sorry, that was just my little tangent there. You can tell I'm pretty passionate about not sending cold messages because that's gross. So anyways, I'm trying to help this girl because I'm like, no, listen here. I'm actually going to jump on a call with her today for a mastermind and like just talk to her about what I do with my team. Because I just want to help this poor girl, because I'm just like, no, I don't want you to feel like that's the way, because if you're feeling gross about it, so is your team. So anyways, you guys, we are going to move on to writing our post. Today we're going to write a business post. Our goal is to make your audience aware of the business that we are in and potentially gain new leads, especially because right now it's double QV on those 400 packs. We also obviously have the Operation Bomb with the $25 in credits. And it's important because sometimes we don't talk about our business enough. So this is a great way to bring awareness to your business. Like, we can talk about our fives with our business. We can talk about like how it's free. There's no sign up fees. But the hook would be something like, who else is like me? I like little spurges and indulgences. Things like, well, we don't do Starbucks drinks, but you know what I mean? Like, you get the point. Well, maybe you do. Just because we Thrive, like, it doesn't mean that you can't have a coffee, but it's still whatever. But like, you get the point. Like, Starbucks drinks, books, eating out occasionally, getting your nails done, things like that. And then really talk about, and I kind of already did this post last night. But the point of it is because, and I'm going to just do something different today, but you guys, like, I showcase like literally like, okay, so I forgot that Castle's tuition was due. And then I was like, oh shoot. Like, I mean, this tuition for her for gymnastics was $485, and that was for the whole summer. But still, I'm like, $485 for gymnastics, you guys. Like, that's a lot of freaking money. And then all of a sudden it was like Tuesday payday, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was there. And So you guys, that's a really, really big deal. So many people can't do the extras because money is so tight because of the economy. So, in a recession, people have one of two choices. Option A is decrease their spending, or option B, increase their earnings. And so it's really important to like showcase this. And like I always, my story when I talk about the business is always that it started out for groceries and daycare. Always, that's always what this business started out for me. And then it was the extras like gymnastics and sports and all of that stuff. So really talk about that, because you guys, the biggest thing that I hear even at Castle's Gymnastics is other parents talking about how freaking expensive it is, because obviously it is. And so you want to really show people other options. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We don't talk about the business enough. And again, this is just an example, you guys. Like, you don't have to do these power mornings, like exactly like this. This is just to give you a guideline to help you along if you're feeling stuck. So go ahead and get your posts written. Again, like pictures are like usually of you because we're branding ourselves. We really want to grab attention. Kate, this is another big one. I always just try to call people out as I see them. I don't do a ton of scrolling just because I'm usually trying to like just work my business really intentionally. But like when I do pop on, sometimes I'll see some of your guys' posts. So if I don't call you out, it doesn't mean that you're not doing a good job. It's just like, it's the top of my head, whoever I think of. But one person that really comes to my mind is you, Kate. And that is just that, like, you have been really posting more personal things. And I feel more attracted to your social media since you started doing that. Partly it's because that's who I am. I'm a very big empath, and I also am very passionate about growing myself and self-development and all of that. But I noticed that, but I also noticed how much more you're showing your face. Like, you are posting yourself, you're showing your face, and I noticed that. And the other thing that I notice about it is just like, it's just like that hit me. It's like, it's one picture. And so it just like goes to show like that stops your scroll. Like, I'm just like, oh, here's Kate. Like, what does Kate have to say? And again, you guys, that's the point of this, of showing yourself, is because, or just like a well lit picture or something, because the thing is that stops people scroll and it makes them read. And even if they don't read the whole thing, you guys, another point about the algorithm is anytime somebody even stops on your post for 2 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever, it shows the algorithm that they like what they just seen. And so they're going to start to show your post more. We want people to stop on our posts, because that's the other thing, even if they don't read the whole thing. But if we have a longer post and they sit there and they actually read the whole thing, the amount of time that they spend on our post also increases the algorithm and says, oh, people really love what Kate had to say today, so we're going to show it to even more people. So that's why it's so important, you guys, to have a hook, because when they stop on your post and they stop their scroll, that is going to push your post out to that many more people. The power of this is also just knowing the algorithm and knowing how social media works so that you get more visibility.
I'm not sure if this will help at all, Heather, but I'm glad you brought up the picture thing, because some days it is hard for me to snap a picture because some days I really just don't, I'm not feeling it, you know?
I hear you. Yep.
So I kind of try to plan ahead a little bit when, I am in the mood for a selfie,
I love
or
that. Yep.
take them in advance and save them for later. Because on the
One.
days you don't feel like you're selfie worthy, you've
Yes.
at least
No.
got those sitting there in your back pocket to use that haven't been posted yet.
Yes. I love that, Kate. I'm so glad you brought that up. Literally, on my training yesterday with Jessie Lee, she was like, you guys, and this is also going to be part of my extended training. But I can go squirrel and I can talk about business forever because I love it. But like for Friday morning that's exactly what she said. She's like, you guys, when you're feeling yourself, take some pictures, throw on a couple different shirts, be prepared, because every day you're not going to be in the mood, but every day you need to work your business. But if you have these pictures on there, you are going to feel prepared. And so when you don't want to take a selfie, exactly what you just said, Kate, like she was like, make sure you do that. Or in the days that you're in the mood to make reels, make a bunch of them so that you're always ready. And I mean, the fancy word for that is we call it batching content, right? But for some people that feels like overwhelming. They're like, oh, I don't know. It's like, you guys, it doesn't have to be this complicated thing. It's just like when you're feeling yourself, when your hair looks good, when you did your makeup. So like for me, I get ready on Tuesdays because I go to the salon. So I'm always trying to take a few photos because like I actually put myself together. But with that being said though, too, you guys, I also don't want you to think that you have to look perfect. Hear me out on that. Like, you don't need to be looking perfectly polished every time you're going to share a selfie. Like I share ugly selfies of myself too, because we obviously want people to know that we're real and authentic and that every day we don't look perfect. But the point is exactly what Kate said. Like if you're going to take a selfie, though, like do it when like you're in the mood, because so that you have extras, because every day I'm not in the mood. I'm not. There's so many Flex Fridays, you guys. Truly, I'm just not in the mood. And then I'm like, it's Flex Friday. I don't have a selfie to post, you know? And well, really, I have 1,000 of them. But like, I don't have red hair in a lot of them. And so it like doesn't, you can tell it's an old one. But anyway, so it's like that is such a good point. I love that you bring that up because it's so helpful, you guys, so that you can stay consistent with working your business if you don't have a photo.
Well, and sometimes it's a matter of not having time. Sometimes we're busier on days than others, and sometimes weekends are busier than weekdays. And
Yeah.
if you're feeling a little extra creative, make those reels. And that's when it's nice to have those just sitting in your phone gallery,
Yeah.
ready to go. It takes minutes
I
instead of, yeah.
agree 100%. And another pro tip, since we're going to just talk about this real quick, is if you guys have an iPhone, if you're like, out or certain pictures or whatever, I don't even know, like, I guess I don't really overthink it, but I have my photos on live. So that way, when I go to do a reel, it'll be in live mode. So even though I took still pictures, I can still like, they're kind of still moving, and like, it just makes the reel more fun and creative. Another thing I want to tell you guys, if you don't have the app CapCut, I want to encourage you guys to download it. It's free, but they have reel templates in there. So if you're somebody that feels stuck with reels, all you have to do is pick a template. You can search it. You can put any type of topic in it. I don't know if you guys seen like my Mother's Day reel that was like, I'm a mom, and like it had all these different fonts and it looked fun and creative. You guys, I didn't do anything. I put the stuff, it'll say like 5 photos or whatever. And I put the 5 photos in there, And then I put like curate, and bam, it made the reel. It had the sound, it had the words, it had everything. Like I didn't have to do anything. The only thing I had to do was find the template. And you put your photos in it, and bam, it's done. You save it to your phone, and then you post. And for me personally, I crop the videos so that it doesn't have CapCut and the CapCut watermark up in the top corner. But you don't have to do that, but you can. And then I just post it. And so if you guys are struggling to make reels, go to the app CapCut, and you can search any type of thing that you possibly want, and it will curate. It has all the templates that you can even imagine in there. And that will also be another great resource for you guys. So sorry, I went a little squirrel per usual on here, but I love that like we can use these as training moments, you guys. Like these are all things that are going to help us with our business. So I'm fine with it. You know, you got the post up, we have the recordings. I didn't get my post done because I was talking too much. But obviously I will write my post as soon as I get off of this Zoom. But these are just all like little tips, you guys. We want to make this business as easy as possible, and we don't want you to overthink it. So I love that you brought that up, Kate, because all of that is so helpful. And I think for some people, we just like, I don't know if like sometimes we think like, oh my gosh, we got to do all this stuff every single day. But it's like, really, you guys, like we just have to work smarter and not harder. And like when you're feeling it, just do a bunch and like post it later. And we're going to get a little bit more intense as time goes on. And because I have a lot of training stuff, like maybe we might bring back Sunday Zooms again. Sammy was going to do them, but like she just, it's not really fitting into her family life or whatever. But so I don't know, like it's summer and I know like people camp and stuff, but I really kind of want to get more into helping you guys like not only plan your week, but like actually having like a call it a content strategy, or like just really making sure that we're like posting all the things, kind of like what we're doing right now, but even going a little bit deeper and making sure that we're posting different things in our stories that will help. Or we can break it up and do it in increments and Friday morning Zooms. But I always just have so much knowledge that I feel like I could talk forever. So, but anyways, I love all of this, and I hope that it's really helping you guys. It's even helping me. It's helping me to stay on task. It's helping me to just remember all of the things that I need to do, because it's so easy to do one thing and then you forget to do the other thing. So, and you guys, we still have days that something's going to slack. It's just life. So give yourself grace. Don't fret over it. Just pick yourself up and just pick up the next day. Like one day is not going to kill your business. But what happens is when you give yourself too much grace and it's one day, and then it turns into 5 days, and then it turns into 10 days. And then all of a sudden half the month is gone and you haven't worked your business at all. That's the problem. But if you guys just stay consistent, you will be just, I think a lot of you are already seeing the benefit of this. I think you're seeing the benefit in the interactions in your social media. Hopefully you are. Don't forget also, you guys, as we're continuing to do this, to just grow your networks. And again, make sure that if you don't feel comfortable with adding suggested friends and things like that, of that nature, then get in some groups and make sure that you're doing some daily interactions in there. It doesn't have to be a lot, just like 5 to 10 minutes to get your name in that group and to start building some relationships there, so that you can also build new friends. So that's what I have for you guys today. We went over a little bit, but I appreciate you staying here with me. Oh shoot, I didn't take a picture. So, oh, Dan wanted his face in here. I see you, Dan. Oh God, I love you guys. Okay, so with that, you guys, you can have a good day, and I will be back here again tomorrow morning. See you guys later.